No DQ Galaxy. We are live with the NoDQ.com recap of both AEW Rampage and Friday Night Smackdown. This week's Rampage was live right before Double or Nothing in Las Vegas, Nevada. We will start with Rampage, which aired first. Rampage was on special start time due to the NHL playoffs. Rampage aired at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. Let's get right into it. I'll talk about Rampage, and then we'll jump over to SmackDown. We kicked off Rampage with Bryan Danielson versus Matt Sydal. Daniel Bryan versus Evan Bourne, basically. Good match here, but pretty much a showcase match for Bryan Danielson, a wrestling match. It was good. William Regal was there on commentary, and Bryan worked over Sydal on the mat for a little bit. Sydal did get some offense, had a good showing, a very game Matt Sydal. He went for the Meteora off the top, but he got caught by Bryan. Bryan got him in a leg submission, did the yes kicks. Both ended up on the top rope, and Sydal hit this sunset flip power bomb and was probably the closest in the entire match to beating Bryan with this move. Bryan kicked out, of course. They traded some blows back and forth, and then Bryan hit the running knee, hit some elbows, and then he put on another submission and scored the victory over Matt Sydal. Totally fine, entertaining match, but I think we all knew Bryan was winning this one. I would like to see one of these days just a major upset where somebody who you don't expect to win picks up a victory. I think that would make the near falls more believable. One of the problems with AEW and WWE for that matter is a lot of times, at least for me, the near falls just don't mean anything, because if it's Bryan Danielson versus Matt Sydal, I know damn well Sydal is not winning. So anytime he hits a big near fall like that sunset flip powerbomb, I know Bryan's kicking out of it. Every once in a while, I would like to see a major upset, like a low guy on the card beating a top guy. I want to see more 1, 2, 3 kids beating Razor Ramon. Like, that should be happening at least every couple of months, so fans are conditioned to think that a match could really end at any time and anybody could beat anybody on any given night. Just my take on it. Moving on here, we had the Young Bucks dressed up as the Hardy Boys. We had the Hardys music playing, and they came out dressed up like the Hardys. They brought out Gangrel. Gangrel showed up. Of course, he was part of the New Brood with the Hardys back in the day. I'm always down for a Gangrel cameo on a television show. Why not? I think we should see more Gangrel, quite frankly. Although, to me, it's not the same without the music. The music was such a cool part of the act. Anyways, you had the Bucks picking up a win over 2 guys. I think one of them was Tyler Rust, but I'm not sure. I forgot already. Basically a squash match here. You had the Bucks doing the Hardys moves, Twist of Fate, Swanton, picked up the win, and then they celebrated with Gangrel. But then Swerve, they betrayed Gangrel. They laid him out, and then the Hardys arrived. There was a face-off. Brandon Cutler, who was wearing a thong like Lita for whatever reason, I guess for comedic purposes, he got his ass kicked. He got hit with the Impaler DDT by Gangrel, and then Matt hit the Twist of Fate. Jeff came off the top with the Swanton. New Brood celebrates. Good stuff here. I enjoyed it. We had Darby Allin backstage challenging Kyle O'Reilly because that's what we needed. We needed more matches at Double or Nothing. And I think including the buy-in, we have 13 matches. It's going to be a long night. I might be starting the stream at like 1 a.m. It's going to be crazy, but we will be doing it. I will be here. I hope you guys will join up with me for that Sunday night. And of course, you can check out the live results coverage on NoDQ.com. Good old JM Jeff Meacham is here. Thank you for tuning in, Jeff. He sent in $5. He says, appreciate the recaps since I can't watch the shows right now. Looking forward to our multi-channel coverage of Double or Nothing beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern on Sunday. Yes, Jeff and company will be doing a live watch along, so make sure you guys check that out over on the Jeff Meacham Network. And yes, Anthony, WWE owns the rights to Gangrel's music. That's a Jim Johnston composition. We had Dante Martin versus Max Caster in a match. Max Caster did his rap. He was there with the Ass Boys, and you had Max Caster with all of his lines. He made a joke about Dante Martin having no entrance, which usually means the guy with no entrance is losing. Brought up how Dante Martin could not get laid at the Bunny Ranch, and he's going to put Dante on the shelf like his brother, who unfortunately is out of action again. Anthony Bowens was also out there in a wheelchair. He's injured, but he was there. The Ass Boys kept calling it Los Angeles, and Bowens had to correct them on that one. It was Las Vegas. We had the match. Dante came over the top rope onto everybody, but then Billy Gunn sent Dante into the steps. Gun Club got ejected from ringside, and then we finally had it one-on-one, back-and-forth match here. And Dante, who got no entrance, picked up the win with the nose dive. So there you go. Guy not getting the entrance wins the match. I'm fine with that because, again, you condition the audience. So just because you don't get an entrance, that doesn't necessarily mean that person is going to lose the match. I'm cool with that every now and then. We had Dan Lambert with the Men of the Year cutting a promo. They're still heels. This is still a thing. Why, I don't know. They presented a new TNT championship to Scorpio Sky because last week Sammy Guevara destroyed it. And I guess it's a tribute to the Lakers. It's the colors of the Lakers for Scorpio Sky. And then we had footage shown on the big screen. Sammy Guevara, Ty Conte, and Frankie Kazarian were at the America Top Team dojo or gym, whatever it is. And they ended up breaking the case that had all of these various championships. And basically a challenge was issued. They wanted a 6-person mixed tag team match with Paige Van Zant in the mix. Scorpio Sky accepted it. However, if they win, Frankie Kazarian and Sammy Guevara can never challenge for the TNT title again. That would really suck for Sammy since he is Mr. TNT Championship at this point. We then had our main event. But before the main event, of course, Mark Henry talking to Ruby Soho and Chris Statlander. Ruby said she needs this win. It's going to be a turning point in her career. Chris Statlander talked about how she's been there in AEW since the beginning. She has missed opportunities. She's not going to let this one slip away like the others. And then we had our match. Good main event here. I liked it. Although, again, I thought it was kind of predictable. I figured Ruby Soho would win this one. But it was a good match. Ruby came off with a Hurricane Rana off the top. And then Statlander hit a power bomb. Ruby kicked out of that. Statlander was selling her shoulder. And then Ruby hit the no future kick, but Statlander fell to the outside of the ring. They got back in the ring, and Statlander almost picked up the win. Then she went for the spider crab, but Ruby exploited the shoulder, kicked the shoulder, and then rolled up Statlander to secure her spot in the final of the Owen Hart tournament. She will face Britt Baker. Britt Baker appeared on the stage. Ruby got on the mic, and she started getting booed pretty heavily from this crowd. I guess that's how popular Britt Baker is, even though she's been a heel. Crowd still loves her, and enough that they turned on Ruby. And Ruby said Britt Baker got to see what Ruby did to her friend, Chris Statlander. Imagine what Ruby's going to do to somebody she hates. She said she is going to hurt Britt Baker real bad, and a receipt is coming at Double or Nothing. Solid match here, like the ending, and overall pretty fun Rampage. As usual, it moves by pretty quickly. Perfectly fine 1 hour of wrestling programming. Probably give it a solid B. Good show. I would recommend. Hamp Connell is here, sent in a $5 super chat. By the way, Hamp, Walter Cruz wants to know why you never contacted him about getting a free NoDQ t-shirt, so you might want to do that. Hamp Connell sent in $5. He says, this day in history in 1996, the first 2-hour Monday Nitro featured the debut of Scott Hall. You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here. Great moment in wrestling history. Memorial Day, 1996. Scott Hall came out there, talked about the Nacho Man, talked about Scheme Gene, and said that if WCW wanted a war, they were going to get it. The rest was history. One of the best promos of all time, in my opinion. Just a shocking moment at the time, and it led to a major turning point in the industry. And I agree with Caleb. I'm sticking with my picks. Adam Cole and Britt Baker will win the Owen. Next week's Rampage will also be live, which means I will be recapping both shows again. Next week's Rampage will be in Southern California, not Los Angeles, but east of Los Angeles, Ontario, California. I've been to that arena before. They've sold it out. Pretty cool stuff. Hamp Connell sent in a $2 super chat regarding the t-shirt offer from Walter Cruz. Says, probably because I wasn't aware of that. Oh, well, Walter, if you're watching this back, you and Hamp got to get in contact so we can have this t-shirt exchange be done. Now we move on to SmackDown. Footage was shown from last week, and we had the Usos come down to the ring, and Michael Cole talked about how Randy Orton is having consultations with spinal surgeons because he has a messed up back. There was a comment earlier, is this a shoot or a work? I think it's a work. I haven't heard anything about it being a shoot. I think it's designed to keep Randy Orton off TV for a little bit so Riddle can be built up for Roman Reigns at Money in the Bank. And then SummerSlam, Orton will come back and have a match with Roman Reigns. That's what I'm thinking is the deal here. It's just so Riddle can get that one-on-one match for now. So anyways, basically the Usos did that promo. It's been done a lot. The heel does a fake babyface turn promo. That's what this was. Jay was talking off script about how it's been 12 years since they came to WWE. The people cheered them. The people booed them. The people have seen their ups and have definitely seen their downs. But the people stood with them through all of it. And Jay said, thank you to the fans. Crowd chanted Uso. And then Jimmy swerved everybody and said that for 12 years, they needed absolutely nobody. They started celebrating, gloating about being the unified champions. We then had Shinsuke Nakamura arrive, and he introduced them to his new tag team partner, who ended up being Riddle. Riddle arrived, and it makes perfect sense with Randy Orton gone, Rick Boogs legitimately injured, he's gone, Riddle and Nakamura bonding together to try and take down the Usos. I like this. Solid opening to the show, and they announced for Raw there will be a contenders match, Riddle and Nakamura going up against the Usos. Sounds good to me. And backstage, Riddle said that this new team was actually the idea of one Randy Orton. Backstage, we had Shotzi Blackheart talking to the women's locker room, all 6 or 7 women that they have back there. And she was frustrated because Raquel was getting a rematch with Ronda Rousey, although it was a championship contenders match, not an actual title match. And Shotzi was upset that nobody else was getting a chance. Xia Li and Aaliyah basically blew off Shotzi. They do not like her, but Shayna Baszler and Natalya were listening, and they were very curious about what Shotzi had to say. So we had Raquel versus Ronda Rousey, and Shotzi ended up being locked out of the locker room by Aaliyah. Meanwhile, the match went on, and it only went for about a minute or so. You had Natalya and Shayna Baszler coming in for a DQ, and then guess what happened? Take a wild guess what happened here. After the commercial break, holla, 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 players, it turned into a tag team match. I hate to do this, but letter grade down. When they do this, I'm just shaking my head like, can you guys not come up with anything more creative? We had a tag team match, pretty standard. Heels worked over Raquel for a while. And Ronda got the hot tag. Raquel tagged back in. She was selling her leg. And there was a little tease of a confrontation between Ronda and Shayna Baszler, you know, their whole history with the horsewomen. And then Raquel hit the choke slam bomb, picked up the victory over Shayna Baszler. Guess if you do a women's tag team title tournament, you got Ronda Rousey and Raquel as a tag team. There you go. An announcement was made that Money in the Bank will officially be at the MGM Grand Arena instead of the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. We talked about this on the NoDQ review. Ticket sales were pretty weak, so WWE decided to change the venue. T-Mobile Arena is being used for a UFC card that night, and Tony Khan even tweeted about how it was, he said this sarcastically, it was a genius idea for WWE to try and run a show the same night as UFC. New Day was backstage, interviewed about their mystery partner in a match against the Brawling Brutes, but they gave no information. They said the partner could be anybody. It was announced that Madcap Moss will be back, but apparently there will be no jokes and no cap. Do we get a new Madcap Moss or just Riddick Moss, a serious attitude? I'm hoping so, guys, but I'll believe it when I see it. I would not be shocked if next week he's back there with the suspenders and it's the same old shtick. I hope not, though. Next up, we had an interesting match. Los Lotharios versus Jinder Mahal and Shanky. Why? Anyways, this was pretty goofy. I guess the whole point of this was to turn Shanky babyface. Jinder Mahal could not find Shanky backstage, and when he finally did, Shanky was in a room dancing. Here we go. Great Khali 2.0. The big, tall, menacing guy becomes a dancing goofball. Yawn. So we had a match, and Angel Garza was taunting Samantha Irving, the ring announcer, and Shanky attacked him from behind, but Jinder Mahal was distracted by this, and Jinder got pinned by Humberto, who came off with a springboard kick. And then afterwards, Humberto and Angel left the ring. Jinder Mahal was not happy, and Shanky started dancing in front of Samantha. Yeah, this was dumb. I do not care about Shanky. He can dance all he wants. Do not care. Backstage, we had Max Dupree with Adam Pearce, and I guess Max is officially on SmackDown. The recruitment begins, and Max said that Pearce did not make the cut, but apparently we will find out soon who is going to be part of this new group. I mean, it has to be the guys that they had in the dark matches, right? Mace and Mansoor. That way it makes sense. The model management, Max's model management, whatever it's called, MMN, you have to have the 3 M's: Max, Mace, and Mansoor. I mean, that makes sense, right? Maybe they swerve us and we get some different people in the group. We had Kevin Owens coming down to the ring for the KO show. And he had a special guest, a member of the bloodline. Of course, it was Sami Zayn. Sami Zayn wearing the shirt. And this was the best segment on the show, in my opinion. I mean, these guys are just great. They're always entertaining. They work so well together. They have that chemistry. So they're praising each other, kissing each other's asses. Zayn said that Ezekiel and Elias are clearly the same person. Owens got all emotional. He hugged Sami and asked if Sami could come to Raw and call out the rest of the locker room. But then Sami said, unfortunately, it's not a good time because he's busy as the locker room leader and the bloodline needs him. And he called Owens Oos. Owens did not appreciate this, and that's when they started to turn against each other. Owens said that Zayn is in fact not in the bloodline, and then Zayn said that Elias and Ezekiel are 2 different people. Owens called Zayn a liar, and Zayn called Owens a moron, and then maybe it was opposite actually, but basically the same thing. And Owens then said if Zayn is so close with the bloodline, he'll bring them out. So he called for the bloodline to come down. Zayn said they needed a second to get ready, and nobody came out. And Owens laid the truth bomb, said the bloodline does not care about him. And Zayn shoved Owens, took his leave. And then Owens got pissed off because these guys were trying to take down the Kevin Owens signs. And Owens gave them a couple of stunners out of frustration. It was a fun segment. Why was Kevin Owens on SmackDown? Wild card rule. I mean, they're just throwing guys on Raw from SmackDown and vice versa. We're back to that again, everybody. Probably until the next draft or lottery, whatever they call it. We then had a tag team match. Was this a Teddy Long tribute show? We had a lot of tag team matches on this show. Ricochet, the Intercontinental Champion, and Drew Gulak versus Gunther and Ludwig Kaiser. Kaiser in his first official match on SmackDown. And this was basically a showcase match for him more than anybody else. He got the early advantage on Gulak. Gunther took a cheap shot. Gunther dumped Gulak over the top rope. They continued to dominate him after the commercial break. Finally, Ricochet got a hot tag, did some moves on Kaiser, but then made the mistake of tagging Gulak, the jabroni, back in. And then Kaiser hit Gulak with a running kick, picked up the 1-2-3 victory. Afterwards, Gunther hit Ricochet with a big boot, and then ordered Kaiser to take out Gulak with another kick, and that's what Kaiser did. So dominating performance by the former Imperium members. And Gulak took the L here, but still the Intercontinental Champion, basically just a joke. The sooner Gunther gets that title, the better. Backstage, Sami Zayn was talking to the Usos, wanted to know the truth. What do they think of him? And he wanted to know about maybe being an honorary member of the bloodline since he's not technically related. Jimmy was like, sure. And then the two of them went back into their locker room, and Sami Zayn acted like it was Christmas time, like it was the greatest moment of his life, that he's an honorary member of the bloodline. So there you go. No Roman Reigns on this show, by the way. We had our final segment of the evening with the Brawling Brutes going up against the New Day and a mystery partner. Sheamus cut a promo before the match, said it's fight night every night and doesn't matter who the partner is. Everyone's going to end up in a hospital right next to Big E. Then we had the New Day arrive, and they made a couple jokes. Then they introduced their partner, who ended up being Drew McIntyre. Now, earlier, Sheamus, I think it was Sheamus, made a comment about Moby Dick, and Pat McAfee said it's not Moby Dick as the partner, but it is the Big D. And he kept saying it through the match. Drew McIntyre's new nickname, apparently, is the Big D. There you go. It's a Drew Day. Yes, it is. So pretty solid match here. Standard. New Day was working well. They double-teamed Butch for a bit. Drew tagged in. The three of them were taking care of business with Ridge Holland. And eventually, Butch took a cheap shot to Kofi Kingston when the referee wasn't looking. Bad guys got the advantage for a while. But then Drew McIntyre eventually got a hot tag, hit the Glasgow kiss to Ridge, hit the Claymore, Xavier tagged in, hit the big elbow, and picked up the 1-2-3 victory. So, yeah, pretty standard. Afterwards, Drew McIntyre did a little bit of dancing and strutting, celebrating with the New Day, Drew Day, whatever you want to call them. And that was it. No big cliffhanger or anything like that. You know, kind of felt like a house show match, but it was good. Mike B with a $5 super chat. How's it going, Mike B? He says, here's a donation to the two coolest cats, Casey and Sassy. Give them some treats. Hope all is well with you, Aaron. Appreciate it very much, Mike B. Cats are hanging in there. They're doing good, so they will much appreciate that super chat. Thank you for that, Mike B. Hamp Connell sent in a $5 super chat. Thank you, Hamp. Says, since you've been watching a lot longer than me, do you remember a time that WWE was worse than it is now? This is an honest question, not trolling. 1993 to 1995. I mean, that was the low point of WWE, in my opinion. And there were some years during the Ruthless Aggression era that I was not a big fan of, like 2004. Product felt a bit flat. 2010, I thought was a pretty flat year. I mean, this year has been solid, but nothing special. But I've definitely seen worse. Anyways, guys, this was a decent SmackDown. It was pretty solid. I would give it a B-, a somewhat recommend. I mean, to me, the highlight of the show, like I said, was Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. Like, if you're gonna watch anything, go watch that. Wrestling was pretty solid. If you like tag team matches, I mean, you had 1 minute of Ronda Rousey versus Raquel, and I think everything else on this show was a tag match. So if you like tag team wrestling, this was the SmackDown for you. I'd probably say Rampage was the best part of the evening, but SmackDown was okay. They set up something for Raw. Really nothing for Hell in a Cell, though, which is very much just a filler pay-per-view. And that's it, everybody. Thank you all for tuning in tonight. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a like. And don't forget, NoDQ.com will have live results coverage of AEW Double or Nothing 2020 Sunday night. Could be a long night with 13 matches. 13, I mean, one's a buy-in match, but still, that's a lot for one evening. It will be quite the event. So stay tuned to NoDQ.com for that. And just spread the word. Tell a friend. Any word of mouth goes a long way. Share a link to this video on Facebook or Twitter. Very much appreciated. And remember, say yes to NoDQ.com. Have a great Memorial Day weekend, everybody. And I will see you all next time.